There he is. Came out with no bag, by the way. So this was the gentleman, Hispanic. So the reality is that you never know who these people are. You never know what they're really up to. And they could be of any race, etc. I wonder what he was doing in Walmart. Who cares? But I got him. He came out real quick too. So exposure is basically, for me, one of the best ways to stop this behavior, to keep them from injuring and hurting you even more, from manipulating your mind, body, and soul, from stealing. And if I have to, I'll post more information about this controller guy, Ethan Priel, and the network that he's a part of. You can look up videos on YouTube very easily to see some of these former Jews, these former witches, who say that they were vampires or werewolves, who, practiced this Satanism. There's a couple of videos where I heard that they literally would drink blood all day long. They would study under the Catholic Church and study under Mormonism. And, pray to Jesus, this Jesus person. It's just the craziness just goes on and on and on and on and on. And once you have been pushed into this direction, it's very difficult to get out of it, because they worship a demon who literally could give a shit about them and could give a shit about you, and just wants your soul energy, just wants everything from you, and will eat you up and chew you out. And so they're on a constant need for new energy, for new people to initiate. It's a never-ending cycle of need, of wanting, and they don't stop wanting. They just keep going and going and going and going, and they are willing, and they have no souls, so they're willing to do whatever it takes to get what the heck they want. And that means getting biobots, faking or putting parasitic entities inside their bodies, and harassing and attacking people from a higher plane, even, from the astral plane. And it's quite the thing, and it's really crazy to me, because to me it's almost like they know that they can't do it, and they know it's stupid, but they do it anyway, thinking that they're never going to get caught. It's like they never consider that anyone is going to speak up about it. So they still do their bullshit anyway. They still conduct their surveillance. They still injure people. They still hurt them. And they still follow them. And, I'm one of their victims. As I mentioned before with my controller, he's not really my controller. I could give a crap about him. But he's a controller, and he decided to induct me into their system without my permission in any possible way. And I remember one of the day that it really happened. I was obviously chipped at my martial arts school, but I think one of the days before that happened, my father-in-law had been visiting from Israel, the controller, and he was there with his friend Sue Morningstar, who's a rabbi out in I think it's Portland or Ohio. She was, and I guarantee she's one of the negative entities that have been attacking me as well. Her husband is, they've run a strange community of of people just basically doing weird stuff all the time. Um, they're very weird people. So um, that night they were visiting, and it was actually a whole series of things that happened. Like we went out to dinner, and we went to this um, restaurant called um, I think it was called New or something like that. It was an Asian restaurant, and they had me sitting in a way where I couldn't see the people who were behind me, but I kept glancing. Whenever I glanced at Ethan's face or Sue's face, they were looking at people behind me. They kind of kept looking at them real quick, as if those people were participating in our dinner, or something was like, I felt like something foreboding, something was going on. So this is how they do things, in secret. It's a very secretive type of event, and I'm sure something was going on behind me that I would not have noticed. I mean, I would not have thought, I wouldn't have been a part of, knowingly. And so, like one strange thing happened. Like it was just a bunch of strange things that just kept happening, between the food and the dishes. Like the way that they make it, and make it seem like it's real things that are happening, real normal things that are happening, but like you're having dinner or whatever, but what's really going on is a whole nother thing under the table. you know kind of like it. That's exactly what it's like. Imagine, people are just having dinner, but there might be someone under the table giving someone a blowjob, or touching someone's feet, or someone might have a gun under the table, and you would never know. That's basically what it's kind of like. And these people who were behind me were doing some strange things, and I glanced around every now and then, and I kind of took a look, and they wouldn't look at me direct. I mean, it's just strange events. And then right when we were leaving, there was a man in a blue coat, looked like one of those really rich people, had perfectly white teeth, looked like he was rich. And it looked like they were having a party, at my expense, I should say. It looked like there was a party going on at my expense. And they were, I'm pretty sure some type of ceremony had been conducted at that time, an initiation ceremony of some sort without my knowledge. I'm sure that someone had inducted me, or had taken something from me, or put something in me, or whatever the case may be. I had no idea at that point in time, but something had went on. And then when we got back home, they were celebrating. It just looked like they were celebrating at my expense. And this man had a bright blue coat on, silver hair, I believe. Big wide smile. Was very happy. And so when we get back home, we start talking, we enjoy ourselves, and I'm still oblivious to anything that's going on. And then we're sitting on the couch, and a strange thing happens. Ethan, I'm sitting on the couch next to my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, Adam McNeil, and he's kind of looking at his phone, and he put his phone down, or he placed it in a way so that he could, like the camera was facing behind him. I could see behind him, towards our kitchen area. And then Ethan gets up and goes behind me, and then a very strange silence occurs, and I hear something like, it sounded like someone was pulling back like their flesh. It sounded, and it was real quiet, but it sounded like someone was either maybe transforming, or something happened, and he was really quiet behind me, but I could feel his presence, and I didn't look because I thought, I just didn't assume that anything would be going on, because you trust these people who attack you, and who fake like they're your family, and fake like they're your loved ones, but they're really just satanic, evil entities. Anyway, so something negative happened behind me, and then he did his thing, and then I'm guessing it was an initiation ceremony, and so he chose himself as my controller at that point in time. By the way, as he was leaving, I felt a pinprick leave my middle finger. I felt a little pinprick leave. And so he pieced out. And so they do that also. I feel little needle points in your fingernails or in your toenails. And I just felt a little pinprick leave. Anyway, so after he left, after Ethan came back around to the front of our couch area, then his friend Sue went behind and then did the same thing. And it was real quiet, and like they use the excuse that they're looking for something, but you didn't hear any cabinets opening. He was clearly sitting at the sink staring directly down at me in some way, and Adam probably had the camera facing him, probably because a military person on the other end was doing something. This is kind of like how it's going, how they coordinate this type of stuff. It's not, whatever they do, it's not normal in any way. It's designed to deceive you completely. And then Sue went and did the same thing, and there was a silence. And then they both, after that, a little while later, they both sat down and started talking to me about my meditation. And they were saying, "Hey, how's it going?" Like as if they've been monitoring it and they knew about it. And subconsciously, I knew that they knew about it. It was like, yeah, things are going great. And they were asking, how's it going? They were very curious. How exactly is it going? And they wanted to show me a video. And so then Ethan, the entire night, kept trying to force his phone into my face so that the phone, whoever was on the other end monitoring could see me. And so then they put the phone in my face and show me a video of a woman who was able to sing on 2 different tones at the same time and use 2 different levels of tones. And so I heard that video and I could hear her using 2 different tones at the same time. I don't know how she did it. I'm sure she was some type of trained bot of some sort, but that's what they did. And then they proceeded to examine my my response, and I was vibrating a little bit. I vibrated to it. I thought it was a nice kind of thing to vibrate to, and I vibrated it to it. And after that, they were satisfied. And then we went out, smoked a joint, that sort of thing. And then they talked to me a little bit more about a couple of things. And Sue had a real interest in me for some reason. I don't know who Sue is, by the way, but I'm sure she's one of these creatures. And she's stuck in a wheelchair, but I'm sure there's something else going on with her legs. Probably some type of reptoid or negative entity. Anyway, so just wanted to explain that, it's so undercover that if you didn't know what was going on, you would never know. You would never see it. You would never experience it completely. It would be one of those things that, would take you by surprise. And, that's why I say it's good to record. Maybe you can see things outside, other recordings. If there's other entities looking at this in any way, you can see it. You might be able to see it better than I can. But it's real. It's and it's a horrible thing because they've stolen your free will and stolen your ability to enjoy life. And like today, I went to go and grab a couple things, and I was immediately tracked. They immediately will track you, and they're in full communication. So I'm sure that they've put an order out to try to get me arrested or try to get me back into their system as quickly as possible. And that's what they do. So, just good luck to everyone out there that's fighting the fight and dealing with such evil creatures. And freedom. Peace out, fam.